As some of you might know, I've been fascinated by Mars for a long time now, and I finally got to make Martian soil, and since a few people might share my interest, I decided to do a video about the process. To get started, I first researched about the composition of Martian soil. I found many different mineral sheets online, but since it's hard to match the exact compositions mentioned in the papers without buying every single mineral and melting it together, I decided to just match the rough composition of lava split, basalt, and fine sand. Also, please note that just like on Earth, Mars has many different soils, each with its very own composition, so my DIY soil might actually match one of them. Because the materials needed for this project are easy and cheap to obtain, you can recreate this on your own. I started by first buying 25 kilograms, or 55 pounds, of volcanic rock, which is very porous and easy to crush. I also got 20 kilograms, or 44 pounds, of basalt. These materials came into a total of around $20. Then I just needed some very fine sand, which I bought at the local sand store. Just kidding, I stole it from my neighbor. To match the composition even better, you can get some feldspar, but sadly I couldn't get my hands on any of it. I then started to crush the lava rocks on a stone plate with a hammer into fine dust. Make sure to wear respiratory protection during this step, or you will end up breathing in lots of dust, which isn't very healthy for your lungs. After spending hours of crushing rocks in my basement, I put the dust on an aluminum tray to dry, and after a day I stored all of the dust in a container. Ideally, you have a fancy one to show off your precious dust, but I figured I'd just eat 1 pound of gummy bears, so I can use that box instead. After putting the dust in, I realized I first need to sieve it so I don't end up having too big particles in it. I then went back and crushed the small rocks that got stuck in the sieve. After that, I crushed some more rocks and found this shiny piece. When I eventually made enough powder, I crushed the basalt. This step works exactly the same as with the lava rocks, only that you need much more force to smash the basalt. Make sure to wear proper eye protection, since the basalt keeps flying everywhere. When I filmed this process, it was still pretty cold. That might explain why I'm wearing wool socks. When I finished, I poured the powder onto the aluminum tray and sieved it. After that, I stored it in a small glass container. I then stole the kitchen scale from my mom and got 3 aluminum bowls, the big spatula, and water to prevent my room from dusting up by making the soil wet. I then took 20 grams of basalt dust and mixed it with 25 grams of lava rock. The ratio is 0.8 parts basalt per 1 part of volcanic rock powder. I then had some basalt left, and so I mixed another 28 grams of basalt with 35 grams lava rock. Then I dumped it all together and got a total of 108 grams pre-soil. This was already feeling like some sort of desert soil. I crushed some more basalt off camera and made more pre-soil. I then took 200 grams of it and mixed it with 100 grams of fine sand. The complete recipe is 0.8 parts of basalt and 0.5 parts of sand per 1 part of lava rock. The final soil was then mixed well, and again I used a little bit of water to prevent it from dusting all over my room. I then was left with the final Martian soil simulant, and the only thing left to do was to plant lettuce in it. So I picked one from our garden and cleaned some of the dirt from the roots. I will be doing more experiments with this soil in the future, so stay tuned. Also make sure to autoclave the soil before experimenting, or the bacteria in it could potentially ruin your data, depending on what you try to do. Instead autoclaving, you can also cook the soil for a few minutes, just like you would boil hot water. Oh, and of course, I didn't include perchlorates in the recipe like on Mars, because they are very toxic. And remember,
Break the cycle, Morty. Rise above. Focus on science.